All right, so get this. What if we could ask AI itself how to build its own brain?
Oh, wow.
Like really smart AI, the kind that makes Siri look like a calculator.
Yeah.
We're talking artificial general intelligence, AGI.
Right.
And lucky for us, you brought the perfect source material for this deep dive.
Oh, right.
We're looking at excerpts from Getting Ready for the Future by futurist Tom Mitsoff.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. Mitsoff's big idea, it comes from his conversation with a super advanced AI model, one that can actually reason.
This is where it gets interesting.
Right.
We're not talking about some chatbot spitting out pre-programmed responses. This AI supposedly uses logic and deduction to form its own conclusions, which makes the 17 steps it outlines toward AGI particularly mind-blowing.
We're getting AGI insights straight from an AI. That's like getting cooking lessons from a Michelin star chef.
Exactly. And Mitsoff walked away with a 17-step roadmap straight from the AI's, well, you get the idea. He lays it all out.
17 steps to sentient machines. Okay, now I'm both excited and a little terrified. So no pressure, but these steps are kind of a big deal, huh? Where does this AI brain even suggest we begin?
It all starts with learning, but not just cramming more data down AI's throat. It's about teaching them to learn like we do.
So less like memorizing a dictionary and more like what? Learning from experience.
You got it. It's called meta-learning. Think about how you learn to ride a bike. Someone could explain it all day, but until you actually did it, fell a few times, figured out how to balance, you didn't really learn.
That's a good point. Makes sense. So it's about throwing AI into the deep end and letting it figure things out.
Sort of. And there's another piece to this puzzle. Unsupervised learning. This is where it gets really interesting. Imagine AI that can spot patterns in data without us humans pre-labeling everything.
So like a baby learning to recognize faces without someone holding up flashcards saying, Mom, Dad?
Precisely. It's about AI making sense of the world on its own, just like we do.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's another thing that's been on my mind. Learning is one thing, but how do we get AI to process all that information like our brains do?
You're talking about step 2, building brain-like networks. Now, I know that sounds like something out of, well, never mind.
No, I hear you. It sounds a little sci-fi, but I'm with you.
What it really boils down to is this, blending logic with intuition. Humans do it all the time, right? We use logic to make decisions, but we also rely on gut feelings, past experiences.
And sometimes even emotions, let's be honest.
Exactly. So this step is all about giving AI that same kind of balance. It's called neurosymbolic integration, a fancy way of saying we're teaching computers to understand the meaning behind things, the context.
So it's not just about calculating 2-2, it's about understanding what those numbers represent.
Now you're getting it. And it goes even further with what they're calling transformer enhancements.
Transformer enhancements. Lay it on me.
Think of it like upgrading the AI senses. You and I, we experience the world through sight, sound, touch, all at once. Transformer enhancements aim to help AI process information from all these different sources simultaneously.
Wow. So it's like we're giving AI the ability to actually experience the world, not just read about it in a textbook.
Now you're seeing the bigger picture. And that rich, multi-sensory experience, that's what sets the stage for everything else. Because AGI isn't just about speed, it's about true understanding.
Okay, so we've got our AI learning, experiencing, processing the world on a whole new level. But how do we make sure it uses all that brain power, responsibly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're not just building a tool here, we're essentially, well, raising a digital mind.
Whoa. Okay, so less lines of code and more like instilling values, morals. That's a lot of pressure.
It is, and that's where this next step is so fascinating. Mitsoff calls it organized knowledge.
Organized knowledge. Sounds like we're tidying up AI's bedroom or something.
Well, not exactly. Imagine like a giant web of information, right? But instead of just random facts, everything's connected, like a mind map.
Okay, I think I'm following.
Like, you don't just know that water boils at a certain temperature. You understand, like, the physics behind it, the dangers of steam, how it relates to cooking. It's about context, you know?
So we're talking about giving AI the ability to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's what these knowledge graphs do. They help AI connect the dots, see how everything fits together.
Fascinating. But there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Right. Step 5 builds on this idea of, like, a deeper understanding. Mitsoff calls it cognitive architectures.
Cognitive architectures. Okay, now you're just using big words to sound smart.
No, hey, this is important. Think about how we learn and remember. We've got different types of memory, right? Facts, sure, but also like personal experiences, emotions tied to those events.
Okay, yeah. That's how we learn, I guess.
Right. So this step is about giving AI similar capabilities. Not just knowing that something happened, but understanding what it means.
So less like a cold hard drive storing data, more like a mind that can actually process and reflect.
Exactly. We want AI that can learn from its mistakes, understand the consequences of its actions. It's about building trust.
Okay, and this is where I think a lot of folks get a little uneasy.
Right.
We're talking about really smart AI now. How do we make sure it's, on our side?
It's a valid concern, and Mitsoff addresses it head-on with steps 6 and 7, common sense and explainability.
Okay, common sense. Something I'm not sure even we have figured out half the time. How do you teach that to a machine?
It's one of the biggest challenges in AI, honestly. We're talking about those unspoken rules of the world, the stuff that seems obvious to us but is really hard to code.
Give me an example.
Like, you don't wear a bathing suit to a funeral, or, you don't use a hammer to eat soup.
Okay, now you're just messing with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, those seem like, obviously things, but I guess to an AI.
It's not so simple. But there's a project Mitsoff mentions called ConceptNet, and they're actually feeding AI millions of these common sense facts.
Wow, so it's like AI kindergarten.
In a way, yeah. And then comes explainability, which is all about transparency.
Like AI needs to show its work.
Exactly. We want AI that can explain its reasoning.
So if it makes a decision, it can tell us why.
Precisely. Think of an AI doctor, right? You'd want to know why it recommends a certain treatment. That's what explainability is all about, building trust and understanding.
I'm all for transparency, especially when it comes to AI making big decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, let's say we've tackled all these challenges. We've got responsible, ethical AI. How do we actually integrate it into the world?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Step 8 tackles this head-on ethical frameworks. We're not just talking about algorithms anymore. We're talking about values.
Okay, so less about how we build AGI and more about WHY and what rules we need to set.
Exactly. Like, what are the fundamental rules for machines making decisions that affect human lives? These aren't hypotheticals anymore. These are conversations we need to be having right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
This is where things start to feel, well, really real. So where do we even begin?
Well, step 9 dives into building these really robust knowledge systems. And at the heart of that is something called causal inference.
Causal inference. Okay, so it sounds like we're going full-on Sherlock Holmes with AI, right? What's the deal here?
It's like this, imagine an AI that can not just predict, say, a stock market crash, but can tell you the exact chain of events that led to it.
So less about predicting the future and more about, understanding the past.
In a way, yes. It's about getting at the root causes, the why behind things. An AI doctor, for example, that doesn't just treat symptoms, but understands the origin of the illness in the first place. That's causal inference. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a game changer. But okay, I got to ask, all this brain power, all this learning and understanding, doesn't that require a ton of energy? Are we talking about AI needing its own dedicated power plant?
You're hitting on a really important point. Energy consumption is a major hurdle when we're talking about AGI. That's why Mitsoff highlights the importance of, get ready for this, resource capabilities.
Resource capabilities. Sounds vague, but I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Specifically, he's talking about developing energy-efficient algorithms. Imagine an AI that's exponentially more powerful than anything we have today, but actually uses less energy.
Okay, now that's just blowing my mind. Solve the energy crisis. A&D unlocks superintelligence. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
But who's going to build all of this? I mean, this feels bigger than just, a bunch of coders in a basement somewhere.
You're absolutely right. This is a massive undertaking. And step 11 really underscores that interdisciplinary research. This isn't just a job for tech wizards. We need psychologists, ethicists, philosophers, everyone at the table.
So it's like building a whole new world, not just a new gadget. That's a lot to wrap our heads around. But how do we even begin to make this transition? Do we just, cross our fingers and hope that super intelligent AI decides to play nice?
That's where these next 2 steps are really crucial. Mitsoff talks about the need for incremental testing and, really importantly, a constant focus on societal impact. We don't just unleash untested AI into the world. Controlled environments are key.
So baby steps, right?
Exactly. We got to see how AGI develops, make adjustments along the way, and all the while keep asking those big questions about how this impacts society. How do we prepare people for a world where AGI is commonplace?
Yeah, because there's definitely that fear, right? The robots are coming to take our jobs. It's like a science fiction movie come to life.
It's a valid concern, for sure. But Mitsoff, he talks about this idea of reskilling. If AI is going to automate certain tasks, How do we empower people to adapt and thrive in that new landscape?
Uh-huh.
It's about finding ways for humans and AI to work together, not against each other.
Okay, that's a much more hopeful way to look at it. But still, a lot to consider. This is probably where some of our listeners are like, whoa, slow down. This is getting real.
And that's why those last few steps are so important, because it's not just about building AGI, it's about building the safeguards.
All right, walk me through it. What does Mitsoff suggest?
Well, step 14 really emphasizes the importance of continuous monitoring.
Yeah.
We can't just set AGI loose and hope for the best. It's more like, well, raising a child, you need to be involved, provide guidance.
Constantly checking in, making sure things are on track.
Exactly. And that leads to robust deployment. This is where things get really exciting. Because imagine a world where AI isn't replacing us, but enhancing our abilities. Think of doctors working alongside AI diagnosticians to cure diseases, engineers partnering with AI designers to build incredible new structures. The possibilities, they're pretty much endless.
Okay, now that is a future I can get behind.
Yeah.
But there are those last two steps, and I got to admit, they're a little intimidating. AI that improves itself. Global governance of superintelligence. That's some next-level stuff right there.
It is. And this is where we really dive into uncharted territory. Step 16, self-improvement safeguards. We're talking about AI that can actually learn and adapt on its own.
Whoa, hold on. Isn't that how you get the robot uprising?
Well, that's why we need those safeguards, right? It's about giving AI the tools to innovate, but within certain carefully designed boundaries. Like, think of a self-driving car. It can navigate roads and avoid obstacles, but it still has a steering wheel and brakes just in case.
Okay, so we're not handing over all the control.
Precisely. And that brings us to the final step. Advanced governance. And this isn't just about writing some code. This is about global cooperation, ethical frameworks, really grappling with these big questions about what role we want AI to play in our future.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about us, our values, our choices. It's a lot to take in. We've covered so much ground today, from the very basics of AI all the way to, well, the potential reshaping of our world.
And that's what makes this so fascinating, right? This isn't just science fiction anymore. The future of intelligence, it's unfolding right before our eyes.
It certainly is. And to everyone listening, that's something to think about. What you learn, explore, or create to be a part of it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time.